Hello, and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. The SEC's request for an interlocutory appeal was denied yesterday, and we'll get straight into that and other details in this video. In this video, I'll go over the reactions of certain lawyers to Judge Torres' decision. Obviously, this is a major setback for the SEC. Judge Torres made some rather pointed jabs in her most recent move. In this video, I'll explain the situation and share the opinions of numerous attorneys on whether or not a settlement is possible at the present time. Most attorneys in the XRP community believe that a settlement is unlikely. Yesterday, however, there was a dramatic shift in the story being told regarding the attorneys' current perspectives on a possible settlement. My goal is to discuss the points raised in this video. Because of this choice, a wealth of fascinating data has emerged. Please watch this entire video because I have some very important information to share with you. Let's begin by discussing Jeremy Hogan, our most beloved attorney. The SEC's motion for an interlocutory appeal was denied, thus the case will either proceed to trial or be dismissed, as he claims. Because of this order, Judge Torres was able to provide further reasoning for parts of her ruling, making it much more difficult for the SEC to win on appeal. Organizational failure. Those of you who aren't up to speed on the latest developments can assume that the SEC has filed an urgent appeal. That's what this appeal at this stage was, and they blew it big time. Because of the appeal, Judge Torres was able to give even more weight to her original ruling that XRP was not a security. If the SEC ever makes the decision to file an appeal, they will face formidable obstacles. As a result of her ruling, Torres has had the chance to hear what other attorneys have to say about Bitcoin. Take the widely cited example of Terraform in Labs. Since Terraform Labs may have possessed a security and the Luna token, she was able to leverage information from the court's ruling that XRP is different. By telling the SEC they couldn't appeal, Judge Torres essentially strengthened her ruling, as Jeremy Hogan claims to be the case right now. I found it quite interesting that she focused on the power of her words. Now, before we get into specific examples, Jeremy Hogan says, "I was actually surprised at how strongly worded the order was against the SEC, she kept bashing the agency repeatedly." This brings up an old point that has been made before, but I feel like many people either didn't notice it at the time or didn't give it much thought. And that was why the SEC kept running late. They were granted multiple opportunity to argue their case and repeatedly asked for more time. Many were outraged and puzzled as to why Judge Forrest was giving this SEC more time to bend the truth. As for why that is, I think we saw the root of the problem yesterday, when she completely demolished the SEC's appeal request. She used the lengthy delays to argue against letting the SEC file an appeal. The SEC had everything it needed to prove that XRP was a security from her submission, but they still failed miserably. Every time the SEC has asked for an extension, it has been granted. Each and every extension request made by the SEC was granted. Therefore, there was no basis for the appeal that was filed. The judge said, "I give you every opportunity to prove your case, but you failed to do so." Most transactions on the Ripple's platform don't involve securities. My research of the company's sales as it relates to the law suggests the following. The idea that XRP in and of itself represents safety is a hoax. As a result, I think it's very interesting to think about that now. A lot of people were fuming over the constant postponements. But I think it greatly raised the odds of our appeal being turned down. Justice Thor must intervene. The SEC is not allowed to appeal this, thus this should be the last time they are shut down. Now let's move on to other possibilities. My intention was merely to highlight the forcefulness of the ruling's wording. Judge Thor has made it clear that the fact that Ripple does not control the XRP ledger is a major victory in the fight to prove to the XRP community that the coin is not a security. The fact that Judge Thoris is making such a statement shows her level of awareness. She is well versed in the fact that the XRP ledger is an impartial, decentralized system outside of Ripple's sphere of influence. Therefore, XRP cannot be considered a security token. Ripple can take its XRP and wrap it in a manner that may be a transaction for security, just like you and I can. This, however, does not prove that XRP is not a security, as Judge Torres has just stated. She argues that calling XRP a security of Ripple is ridiculous because the company does not control the XRP ledger. I think Judge Torres's statement, which was stated in connection to programmatic sales, is far more persuasive. She reasoned that some exchange XRP customers didn't know if they were getting the real thing from Ripple when they made their purchase. Furthermore, nobody else was aware that Ripple existed. There were two main reasons why I found this so interesting. It right away gets to the heart of what John D. was fighting for when he submitted the affidavit in which he made his XRP claim. In fact, he was bought by people who had no prior knowledge of Ripple. Therefore, it's unclear how they could have afforded to put money into Ripple. What if they bought XRP without knowing about Ripple? How could they have expected it to make a difference? As I mentioned before, Jeremy Hogan basically implied that the ruling made by Judge Torres was more convincing than many people were giving it credit for. She went out of her way to reiterate what she had already said: XRP is not a security, thus even when Ripple sells its XRP, it is not a security. Okay, let's proceed. This one was fascinating to me as well, and I think it will help dispel some myths. It piqued my interest that she mentioned that programmatic sales made through Ripples accounted for less than 1% of total XRP trading activity. Despite the common refrain of "oh, Ripple's dumping on retail," I found this to be very neat. Ripple is having an effect on retail. According to Judge Torres, the distribution of the XRP that Ripple is selling is far more widespread than is commonly believed. Tor Church has gone to great lengths to clarify this matter for the SEC. You have completely exaggerated the amount to which Ripple owns this network, and you are attempting to falsely represent XRP, a decentralized technology, as ownership of this network while in fact XRP is worthless. In this ruling, she said categorically that all of the allegations were false. The SEC's attempt to challenge the entirety of Judge Torres's ruling was mostly futile, as you just witnessed. We should probably go on to the next topic, because I don't think they can win an appeal of a case on any of the grounds they've raised. Let's discuss the subsequent steps. The trial will most likely be the most significant event. Ripple is no longer being put to the test. This is a trial for Brad and Chris. When Brad and Chris sold their XRP, what did they know that nobody else did? It's possible that when Brad and Chris sold their XRP, they didn't realize that they were engaging in a securities transaction. From what we can tell, the majority of XRP sales are not securities transactions, guys. Since Brad and Chris sold most of their XRP outside the nation, where the SEC has no jurisdiction, there isn't much of a case to go to trial. Jeremy Hogan, John Dean's attorney, and Fred Rispoli believe that the problem has a far better chance of being handled now because of this. The underlying reason for such is that the SEC is effectively blocked from taking any more action at this time. They can certainly put Brad and Chris to the test. Nothing good will come of this for them. Summary judgment was the best option for this case. A fair and impartial jury would never find Chris and Brad guilty in this case. Considering the recent information that XRP is not a security and is not frequently promoted as a security, this asset's nature as a security should have been obvious to them. Just now, Jeremy Hogan admitted that the SEC is taking a losing case to trial by saying, "I believe the SEC needs to either start preparing for trial or start dropping this case." John Deaton tweeted the same thing later that night. John Dayton's main point was that the SEC should just give up and settle the litigation. In other words, when a judge or neutral party is called upon to render a verdict in this case, they won't fare much better and may even do worse than they did when judging Torres and Nepper. Why not just give up and embrace the victory now? I need your advice on what this ACC should do. The SEC has made the most illogical decisions throughout this entire case, so I won't even bother making a guess. A summons from the SEC to Brad and Chris with the message "Okay, pay us $200 million" would be appropriate. In closing, we shall assert that XRP is not a security. Now, many people will hear me say that and wonder why Ripples would do that given that they already control the situation. When can we put a stop to the SEC by bringing these people to trial? Well, fellas, as much as I would like it to, it just doesn't work that way. Basically, there will be a trial here, right? As we all know, regardless of the verdict, Ripple will emerge victorious. However, the SEC retains the option to reappeal the case in its entirety. Whether or not they work, that's still a huge problem. Because no one is interested in giving it a listen. Again, the only thing we want is for this to be ended, and a settlement is the only way to do that at this time. Therefore, I feel that all sides are committed to finding a solution to this conflict. The SEC might spin this as a win. Ripple may be able to end this debate once and for all and prevent any additional legal action from the SEC. Just keep that in mind while you negotiate a settlement. In my opinion, this is a win-win situation for both parties involved. Also, this is purely my guess as to what will occur. It's important to remember that other highly respected attorneys in this group share the views expressed by Jeremy Hogan and John D. last night. The most important thing I learned from this is that Ripple is now legal again. Again, the facts we uncovered before making this decision show that the XRP community was right. If you've been monitoring this channel, you know by now to disregard this plea for help. The SEC will suffer severely since Judge Tory has absolutely no chance of changing her mind. That's essentially what happened. All that is needed now is for this to be resolved. The US financial system needs Ripple to get the clarity it needs to be reformed. The lack of interest in the XRP pricing begs the question, why? Guys, this case needs to be overturned right now so that institutions can start using XRP with confidence. Although the case could still be challenged, as I mentioned earlier, and the matter could be dragged out for years, Ripple won't let this opportunity pass. Ripple is guaranteed to win this case, and XRP will never be classified as a security. But if the world's largest companies are serious about ending this crisis, they'll take care of the mess they've made of things. We expect the SEC to finally give up on Ripple and the XRP community in 2024 or 2025, when the trial is over or a settlement is reached, at which point we will hurl the whole thing into the fireplace and shred it to bits. Let's keep our fingers crossed. No such option is shown to us. I'd like to put an end to this situation. Whatever the case may be, I value your presence here greatly, gentlemen. I trust you found this update interesting. Please hit that like button and subscribe my channel. See you later, bye.